I woke up with my boss in my bed, and for about 5 seconds, I honestly thought I was still dreaming. Not because Eleanor Norton was the kind of woman a guy like me expected to find under his old gray blanket. She was not. She was tailored coats, quiet offices, glass conference rooms, and the kind of calm that made people sit straighter before she even spoke. My bedroom was a half-broken dresser, laundry basket by the wall, one sneaker under the radiator, and a child's glitter hair clip stuck to my nightstand. So, no. She did not belong there. And yet there she was. Her dark hair was loose across my pillow. One strap of her blouse had slipped off her shoulder. Her eyes were closed, but her face was tight, like even asleep she was trying to stay in control of something. I lifted my head slowly. My mouth tasted like bad decisions and expensive whiskey. There was a bottle on the small table near the window. 2 glasses. My tie on the floor. Her heels by my bedroom door. I stared at the heels first because somehow they felt more dangerous than her being beside me. They meant she had walked in here. She had taken them off. She had stayed. Then she moved. Her eyes opened, and the second she saw me, she froze. Neither of us said anything. I pulled the blanket higher, even though I was still in my shirt and pants. She looked down at herself, then at me, then around the room with that same sharp expression she used when reviewing numbers in a meeting. Only this time, she had no numbers to save her. "Adrian," she said. "Just my name. Quiet. Careful." I sat up too fast and my head punished me for it. "Tell me you remember more than I do." She blinked once. That was answer enough. From the next room, I heard Sophie coughing. My whole body locked. Eleanor heard it too. Her eyes shifted toward the hallway. "Is that my daughter?" I said. And just like that, the room changed. It was not awkward anymore. It was dangerous. I got out of bed, grabbed yesterday's sweater from the chair, and stepped into the hallway before Sophie could come looking. Too late. She was already standing there in her unicorn pajamas, hair sticking out on one side, holding her stuffed rabbit by one ear. "Dad," she said, rubbing one eye. "Why are you talking?" "I'm not talking. I looked back at the bedroom door, which I had pulled almost closed. "Getting ready." Sophie frowned. She was 6, which meant she still believed most of what I said but had started checking the edges. "Are we late for school?" "No, Peanut. It's Saturday." "Oh." She looked past me. "Are we having pancakes?" "Yeah." "Give me 10 minutes. Then Eleanor's heel shifted against the floor inside my room. Sophie's eyes went round. "Is someone here?" I swear I felt my jaw leave my body. I crouched in front of her. "A woman from work had a car problem last night. She came by because I had some files. It got late, and she stayed on the couch." Sophie looked toward the living room. The couch was empty, obviously. Then she looked at my bedroom door. I could already hear my late wife, Elise, in my head. "Nice one, Adrian. Very smooth." Before Sophie could ask the next question, Eleanor opened the door. She had fixed herself as much as possible. Blouse straight. Hair pulled back with her fingers. Face pale but steady. "Good morning," she said softly. Sophie tilted her head. "You're pretty." Eleanor looked like nobody had said anything honest to her in years. "Thank you," she said. "You must be Sophie." Sophie nodded. "Dad makes pancakes with too much butter." "Best kind," Eleanor said. I did not know whether to thank her or beg her to stop speaking. 5 minutes later, she was in my kitchen, drinking water from a chipped mug while I packed Sophie in front of cartoons and pretended my hands were not shaking. "I should go," Eleanor said. "Yes. She looked at me then, really looked, and I could see she hated the mess of it as much as I did. Adrian, I don't think we. I don't either, I said quickly. Her shoulders dropped half an inch. Relief, maybe. Or disappointment. I did not want to know. I remember the office, she said. The late call. Your report. Then the bar across the street because the servers came back up and I said we should eat something. You said your driver was delayed. And you said you needed to get home to Sophie. I did come home. With me. Her mouth tightened. The silence sat between us like a third person. Then my phone buzzed on the counter. Eleanor glanced at it before I could flip it over. Her name was not on the screen. Walter Norton. I felt the kitchen go cold. Eleanor saw my face change. What is it? I turned the phone away. Your father. Her lips parted a little. My father texted you? I read the message twice. Mr. Cross, we need to speak. Privately. Today, if possible. For years, I had kept that name buried in a locked room in my head. Walter Norton. The man who stood in a boardroom in 2019 and called it restructuring when he gutted my whole department. The man whose partners sent polite emails while families packed desks into cardboard boxes. The man whose influence followed me after I left, turning interviews cold halfway through, making old contacts stop answering, making my name feel marked. Back then, I still had Elise. We had bills, a toddler, and a marriage already stretched thin by stress, but we had each other. Then the work disappeared. Then the savings. Then the arguments whispered in the kitchen after Sophie slept. Then Elise started looking at me like she wanted to help but did not know where to put her hands. A year later, she was gone after a sudden medical emergency that moved faster than any of us could understand. People said one thing had nothing to do with the other. Maybe they were right. But grief does not care about clean lines. It connects everything. After that, my life got smaller. Morning alarms. Cheap coffee. Braiding Sophie's hair from YouTube tutorials. Rent paid late but paid. Lunches packed. Extra shifts. Smiling in interviews. Swallowing pride. Taking the job at Norton Systems because Sophie needed insurance and I needed steady money more than I needed pride. And now Walter Norton wanted to talk. Eleanor was watching me carefully. Adrian, she said. How do you know my father? I almost laughed, but nothing about it felt funny. I don't know him, I said. I survived him. Her face changed. Not much. Eleanor did not give much away. But enough. The phone buzzed again. I know who you are. That is why we need to meet. My hand tightened around the phone. Sophie laughed at something in the living room. Bright, innocent, untouched by the names that had shaped her life before she was old enough to speak. Eleanor stepped closer. What does that mean? I looked at her, at the woman who had woken up in my bed and was now standing barefoot in my kitchen like the past had followed her in. It means, I said, your father and I are not starting from today. I typed one word back before I could talk myself out of it. Where? Walter answered almost immediately. My office. Noon. Eleanor's face had gone still. I set the phone down and looked toward the living room, where Sophie was now singing to her rabbit like Saturday morning was still safe. Then I looked back at Eleanor. I'll meet him, I said. And the second I said it, I understood something I should have understood the moment I opened my eyes. At 11:30, I dropped Sophie at my sister's apartment and told her I had a work meeting. Sophie was coloring at the kitchen table and barely looked up. On Saturday? Yeah, I said. Grown-ups make bad choices. My sister, Noelle, gave me a look over Sophie's head. I ignored it because I did not have a clean answer ready. I had Eleanor Norton's perfume still somewhere on my sweater, Walter Norton's text on my phone, and 7 years of old anger sitting behind my ribs like it had been waiting for this exact morning. Norton Systems headquarters looked different on weekends. The front lobby was too quiet. No heels clicking, no badge lines, no assistants rushing with tablets and coffees. Just polished floors, security at the desk, and my own reflection in all that glass. Walter's assistant was waiting for me by the elevators. That alone told me he had planned every inch of this. "Mr. Cross," she said. "Mr. Norton is expecting you." I almost said, "I bet he is." Instead, I followed her up. Walter Norton's private office took half the top floor. Not because he needed the room. Men like him used space as a warning. His windows looked down on the city like he had purchased the view and everyone in it. He was standing when I entered. I had not seen him in person since 2019. Back then he had looked untouchable. Tall, silver-haired, calm, expensive. Now he was thinner. His suit fit well, but his body did not quite fill it. His face had the gray tiredness of a man fighting something he could not buy, fire, or intimidate. "Adrian," he said. I stopped just inside the door. "Mr. Norton." He smiled faintly. "You still give people distance when you are angry. You don't know me well enough to say that." "I know more than I should." That landed badly. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Please. I'm fine standing." His mouth tightened, but he did not push. He moved slowly behind the desk and sat down. On the surface in front of him were 3 folders, a sealed envelope, and a small black recorder. I looked at the recorder. Walter followed my eyes. "Not running. Not unless you ask. I didn't come here for a performance." "No," he said. "You came because you want to know why." I let out a short breath. "I came because you texted me after your daughter woke up in my apartment." For the first time, his expression changed. Not surprise. Confirmation. That was worse. My hands curled at my sides. "You knew." Walter looked down at the folders. "Yes." My stomach turned. "Knew what, exactly?" "That Eleanor was with you last night. That she would likely be too upset to drive home. That you would take her somewhere safe rather than leave her alone." I stepped closer to the desk. "Say that again in plain English." He looked up. "I arranged the late-night systems crisis." The room went very still. "The server issue?" I said. "It was manufactured." "And the report?" "Real enough to keep you both there." "The driver delay?" "My doing." Every answer came clean and calm, and that made me want to put my fist through one of his perfect glass walls. "You set us up." "Yes." "With your daughter?" "Yes." "With me?" "Yes." I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "You really are something." "I am aware." "No, you're not." I leaned over the desk. "You don't get to sit there like this is some chessboard. She's your daughter. I'm her employee. I have a little girl at home. Do you understand what kind of risk you dropped into my apartment?" His eyes moved away for a second. "I do." "You don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't have done it." He took that without answering. Then he pushed the first folder toward me. I did not touch it. "What is that?" "Personnel records. Internal messages. Contractor correspondence. Notes from the restructuring in 2019. I stared at the folder like it might bite. Walter opened it himself and turned the first page so I could see. My name was there. Adrian Cross. Under it were comments from people I remembered. Men who smiled at me in hallways. Women who said they would keep me in mind. Recruiters who stopped returning calls after second interviews. Marked as difficult. Not aligned with leadership. Potential legal exposure if retained in sector-adjacent role. My throat went tight. Walter watched me read, and for once he did not look powerful. He looked old. "You blacklisted me," I said. "I allowed it." "No. Don't do that." My voice came out sharper than I meant. "Don't hide inside aloud. You were the name. People moved because of you." He nodded once. "Yes." I looked at the pages again. There it was. The thing I had guessed, denied, cursed, and swallowed for years. Proof. I had wanted it so badly once. At 2 in the morning, after another interview went cold, after Elise fell asleep with bills spread around her, I would lie there and imagine finding one email. One message. One clean piece of paper that said I had not imagined it. Now it was in front of me, and I felt sick. Walter pushed the second folder forward. "This is a formal confession. Signed. Witnessed. It includes names, dates, firms, and the mechanism used to block your re-entry." I stared at him. "Why?" "Because I am dying." He said it like he was reading a weather report. For a moment, I did not speak. He continued, "The treatment bought time. Not enough. I have months, maybe less." I hated that the words changed the room. I hated that my anger had to make space for the fact of his body failing. I did not want him human. Human was messy. Human made things harder. "That doesn't answer why," I said. "No. It explains the timing." He touched the sealed envelope. "This is for Sophie." I stepped back. His eyes stayed on mine. "A trust. Fully funded. Administered independently. Education, health, housing support when she is older. You control access until she reaches adulthood." "No. You have not heard the terms." "I heard enough. It is not a gift to you. That makes it worse." His mouth pressed into a thin line. "Adrian, pride is not protection." My voice dropped. "Do not say my daughter's name like you have rights here." He went quiet. Good. For a few seconds, all I could hear was the low hum of the building. Then he said, "Your wife's passing was not my doing." My body went cold. "Careful. I know." "No, you don't know. You know documents. You know pressure. You know how to move people around until they break where you need them to break. You don't know what it was like to sit beside a hospital bed with a 6-year-old asking when her mother was coming home." His face folded in, just slightly. "I know I helped build the conditions around your life," he said. "I know I took away stability. Income. References. Options. I know your marriage suffered. I know grief does not file itself neatly." I hated him for saying it that clearly. Because some angry part of me wanted him to deny it. I wanted him to shrug so I could keep him in one clean category. But Walter Norton was not giving me that. He was giving me exactly what I had wanted and making it unbearable. "Why Eleanor?" I asked. His eyes moved to the window. "Because she sees you. You don't know that." "I know my daughter." "No. You manage your daughter." He looked back at me. That one struck. I kept going. "You saw two people in the same building, decided there was something useful there, and built a little trap around it. That's not love. That's control." "Yes," he said. The answer stopped me. He took a breath, and for the first time it shook. "I have controlled everything I touched. Companies. Outcomes. People. Eleanor most of all. I told myself I was protecting her. Preparing her. Giving her the world as it is, not as she wished it to be. But really, I was building a life where no one could refuse me. I said nothing. Then I watched her around you. She argued with you differently. She listened when you spoke. You did not flatter her. You did not fear her in the right way. And you, he paused. You were alive near her in a way you have not been for years. My jaw tightened. You had no right. No. You don't get credit for admitting that. I am not asking for credit. Then what are you asking for? He looked at the 3 folders between us. Use it, he said. All of it. The confession. The records. The money, if you can bear it for her sake. Give Eleanor the truth if she has not already pulled it from you. Let the board see what I buried. I stared at him. You want me to expose you. I want you to have the choice I took from you. It should have sounded noble. It did not. It sounded like one more decision he had arranged and wrapped in better language. What happened last night? I asked. Walter's face went still again. Nothing physical. I had the building footage reviewed from the garage and lobby. You were both unsteady, yes, but you kept distance. At your apartment, your neighbor's camera shows you helping her upstairs. You left the bedroom twice during the night. Once for water. Once to check on Sophie. Eleanor slept in your bed because she was upset and exhausted. You slept beside her because you were too tired to think clearly. I felt exposed in a way I could barely stand. You watched that too? I confirmed enough to know I had not caused a worse harm. A worse harm, I repeated. Listen to yourself. His eyes lowered. I picked up the confession folder. It felt heavier than paper should. Then I picked up the personnel records. I left the envelope for Sophie on the desk. Walter noticed. I won't touch that yet, I said. Not because I'm proud. Because she's not a line item in your repentance. He nodded. At the door, I stopped. For 7 years, I had imagined what I would say to him if I ever got the chance. I had speeches ready once. Ugly ones. Clean ones. Brave ones. In the end, all I said was, you didn't repair anything today. Walter looked at me, and for the first time, I saw fear in him. I know, he said. I walked out with the folders under my arm. By the time I reached the street, my phone was buzzing. Eleanor. I stood on the sidewalk in the cold light, staring at her name. The truth was in my hands now. And somehow, I had never felt less sure what to do with it. I let Eleanor's call ring out twice before I answered. Not because I wanted to punish her. She had done nothing wrong. That was the worst part. She was in the middle of it like I was, only she still did not know how deep the ground had opened under her feet. When I finally picked up, she did not start with hello. What did he say? I stood beside my truck with Walter's folders on the passenger seat, and for a second I looked through the windshield at all that paper. Not over the phone, I said. There was a pause. Adrian. I mean it. Not like this. Then where? I almost said my apartment, then looked at the booster seat in the back and felt my stomach twist. The diner on Fulton, I said. 20 minutes. She was already there when I arrived. Of course she was. Eleanor sat in the back booth, coat still on, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee she had not touched. She looked exactly like she did in meetings when someone brought her bad numbers and she already knew who had caused them. Only this time, it was her father. I slid into the booth across from her and put the folders on the table. Her eyes dropped to them. Are those from him? Yes. What are they? I did not soften it. I wanted to. I hated how much I wanted to. But she needed the truth clean, not dressed up. Proof, I said. Personnel records. Messages. A signed confession. Her face went still. He admitted it. He admitted all of it. The waitress came by with coffee. I ordered nothing because my throat already felt too tight. Eleanor waited until the woman walked away before she spoke again. All of what, exactly? So I told her. I told her about 2019. About the department being gutted. About the quiet notes passed between companies. About the interviews that turned cold after second rounds. About how my name had been marked before I ever walked into a room. She listened without interrupting. That was Eleanor. Even while being hit with something terrible, she stayed controlled at first. Back straight. Eyes locked on mine. Mouth pressed into a line. Then I told her about the trust for Sophie. Her hand tightened around the mug. Then I told her about Friday night. The fake work crisis. The driver delay. The way Walter had pushed the whole evening into place like we were pieces on his desk. That was when she finally moved. She let go of the mug and sat back like something inside her had stepped away from the table. No, she said. I said nothing. No, he wouldn't use me like that. I looked at her carefully. Eleanor. He controls business. People at the company, yes. He has always done that. But this, she stopped and shook her head once. No. Not this. I opened the folder and turned one page toward her. She did not touch it at first. Then she read. I watched her eyes move across the lines. Her expression did not break all at once. It changed in pieces. Confusion first. Then shame. Then something colder. There was her father's assistant confirming the late issue. A note about keeping both of us after hours. A message about removing her driver from the schedule. Another line I wished I had not read before handing it over. She trusts pressure when it sounds like duty. Eleanor stared at that sentence for so long I almost reached across the table. I didn't. Finally, she whispered, he wrote that about me. Yeah. She looked up at me, and for the first time since I had known her, Eleanor Norton looked young. Not weak. Not helpless. Just stripped down to something she usually kept locked away. He knew exactly how to make me stay. I nodded. And he knew you would not leave me stranded. Yes. She swallowed hard. So even that was used. I wanted to say not everything. I wanted to tell her the way she laughed once at the bar, quiet and surprised, had not felt planned. I wanted to tell her I remembered her asking about Sophie's science project, and the way her face softened when I talked about braiding hair badly the first year after Elise was gone. But none of that fixed what Walter had done. So I said, what happened between us after the trap was still ours. But the trap was his. That landed. Her eyes shined, but she did not let anything fall. He said nothing physical happened, I added. He confirmed it. A bitter little breath left her. How generous of him. Yeah. She closed the folder carefully and placed both hands on top of it, like she was stopping the papers from spreading across the whole diner. I need to see him. You don't have to do it today. Yes, I do. Eleanor, he's sick. Her eyes snapped up. I know, she said. He made sure everyone knew just enough to treat him gently. I could not argue with that. Still, I heard myself say, choose your words carefully when you get there. She stared at me. After what he did to you, you're warning me to be careful with him? I'm warning you because last words stay longer than people think. Her face shifted again. Not softer exactly. Just more awake. You really are impossible, she said. No. Just tired. We left the diner together, not touching, the folders tucked under my arm. She drove us to the hospital in silence. Walter had a private room on the top floor, because of course he did. Even dying, men like him got better views. He was awake when we entered. The second he saw both of us, he knew. "Eleanor," he said. She stood at the foot of his bed. I stayed near the wall. "Did you do it?" she asked. Walter's eyes moved to me, then back to her. "Yes." "No." "Look at me when you answer." He did. "Did you use me to get to him?" His jaw tightened. "I believed you both." "Did you use me?" A long pause. "Yes." Her breath shook once, but her voice stayed steady. "And how many times have you done that?" "Not with him." "With me." Walter closed his eyes. That was answer enough, but she did not let him hide there. "How many times did you push someone away from me because they didn't fit? How many choices did you turn before I even saw them? Jobs, schools, friends, men, board seats, public statements. How much of my life did you pre-approve and call love?" Walter opened his eyes again. They were wet now, but Eleanor did not move toward him. "I thought I was protecting you. You were protecting your version of me." He flinched. "Good," I thought, then felt bad for thinking it. She pulled the folder from my hands and placed it on the end of the bed. "What else is in here?" "Enough," Walter said. "For Adrian?" "For others too." The room seemed to tighten. Eleanor's voice dropped. "Names." Walter looked away. "Names," she said again. He gave them. Not all at once. Slowly. Like each one cost him something he should have paid years earlier. Former managers. Contractors. 2 vendors forced under. An analyst blamed for numbers he had questioned. A woman in legal who had been moved out after raising concerns. Eleanor listened to every name. When he was done, she picked up the folder. "I'm taking this to the board." Walter's face changed. "Eleanor." "No. It will damage the company." "It should. It may damage you." She leaned closer, and I saw the daughter and the executive in her at the same time. "Then I'll finally know what part of my life is actually mine." Walter had no answer. She turned toward the door, then stopped. For a second I thought she would leave without another word. Instead, she looked back at him. "I love you," she said. "But I won't protect the story you wrote about yourself." Write in the comments, was Eleanor right to expose her own father, or should family loyalty have made her keep the truth private? Walter's face broke in a quiet way. Eleanor walked out first. I followed her into the hallway. She made it 10 steps before she stopped beside a window and pressed one hand flat against the glass. "I don't know who I am without his version of me," she said. I stood beside her, close but not too close. "You'll find out." She looked at me. "And you? What do you do now?" I thought about Sophie. About Elise. About the envelope still on Walter's desk. About the papers under Eleanor's arm. "I stand where the truth is," I said. "For now, that's beside you." She nodded once, like she was accepting something heavy with both hands. "Not forgiveness. Not love. Not yet. But a sigh. And after 7 years of fighting ghosts alone, even that felt like the first solid ground I had touched in a long time. Eleanor called the emergency board meeting before we even left the hospital parking garage. She sat behind the wheel of her car, one hand on the phone, the other gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles went pale. "No, Leonard," she said, calm enough to scare me. "This is not a Monday issue. This is a today issue. If they want to know why, tell them I'm bringing company exposure, signed executive confession, and evidence of long-term personnel interference." There was a pause. Her eyes stayed forward. Yes, she said. My father's name is on it. Another pause. No. I'm not asking his permission. That was the moment I understood she had really crossed the line. Not in words. Words were easy. She had stepped out from under the roof he built, and now the weather was hers. When she ended the call, the car was quiet. You don't have to come, she said. I looked down at the folders in my lap. My name was in there. My lost years were in there. So were other people's. I do, I said. She nodded once and started the car. The boardroom was full by 4. I had been in that room before, but never like this. Usually I came in with charts, answered questions, and left before the powerful people started talking freely. This time, every face turned when I walked in behind Eleanor. Some knew me. Some only knew I was not supposed to be there. Leonard Pike, the board chair, stood at the far end of the table with his glasses in one hand. Eleanor, he said carefully. Before we begin, I need to ask whether Council has reviewed whatever materials you believe require emergency attention. Not yet, she said. That is a concern. It should be. A few people shifted in their chairs. Eleanor placed the folders on the table. Not tossed. Not dramatic. Just set down, neat and final. These records show that, beginning in 2019 and continuing afterward, Walter Norton and several senior associates used informal pressure to block former employees, vendors, and internal critics from future work. Some of those actions were hidden inside restructuring decisions. Some were kept outside official channels. Leonard's face tightened. One woman near the window said, "These are serious claims. They're documented." By whom? My father. That changed the room. I watched them absorb it. Not the harm. Not at first. They absorbed the risk. You could see it in their eyes. Headlines. Lawsuits. Stock impact. Reputation. Their minds moved to the building before they moved to the people buried under it. Leonard put his glasses back on. We need to proceed in a controlled manner. Eleanor looked at him. Controlled is how this survived. A man named Sutter leaned forward. I knew him from quarterly meetings. He had the voice of someone who had never been interrupted by rent. Miss Norton, with respect, your father is not in a position to defend himself here. He signed the confession while fully competent. That may be challenged. Then challenge it after you read it. He glanced at me. And Mr. Cross's presence? Eleanor turned slightly, letting the table look at me directly. Mr. Cross is named in the file. He is also one of the people affected. Sutter's mouth pulled tight. This is a board matter. I spoke before Eleanor could. It became my matter when your company helped make me unemployable. No one said anything. My voice sounded steadier than I felt, so I kept going. I'm not here to beg for anything. I'm not here to perform grief for people who knew how to use paperwork as a weapon. I'm here because, for 7 years, I had no proof. Today I do. And if this room's first instinct is to protect itself instead of telling the truth, then nothing in those folders is past tense. That hit harder than I expected. Eleanor looked at me, and something passed between us. Not romance. Not yet. Something better for that moment. Recognition. Leonard slowly reached for the first folder. The room went quiet while pages moved from hand to hand. At first, they read like executives. Fast, guarded, searching for exposure. Then the names started landing. The notes. The messages. The instructions written like strategy but carrying real people inside them. One board member whispered, "My God." Eleanor did not flinch. This company will open an independent review, she said. Not internal. External. Full access. We will notify affected parties. We will create restitution funds for documented cases. We will remove anyone who participated and is still in authority. Sutter gave a dry laugh. You are proposing to walk us into a storm. No, Eleanor said. I'm proposing we stop pretending the storm is not already here. You could lose your position. I know. Your father built this company. Her face changed, just slightly. My father built parts of this company on fear. I'm not going to inherit that and call it stability. The room fell still again. For the first time all day, I let myself breathe. It did not fix anything. No meeting could give back lost years. No resolution could bring Elise into the kitchen on a school morning. No apology could erase the nights I counted dollars while Sophie slept with one sock on and her stuffed rabbit under her chin. But truth spoken in a room that had once ignored it was not nothing. By evening, the board voted to begin the review. Not unanimously. Not bravely. But enough. Lawyers were called. Public statements were drafted. 2 members resigned before dinner. Sutter left without looking at Eleanor. Outside the building, cameras had already started gathering. Someone had leaked the meeting was happening. Or maybe Walter had arranged that too. With him, I no longer knew where the strings ended. Eleanor stood just inside the glass doors, watching the lights flash. You can still step away, she said. I looked at her. So can you. She gave me the smallest smile. No, I can't. Then neither can I. My phone buzzed. Noelle had sent a picture of Sophie asleep on her couch, rabbit tucked under her arm, mouth open like she had fought sleep and lost. Under it, Noelle wrote, she asked if your work meeting fixed the computers. I stared at the picture for a long moment. What about the trust? Eleanor asked quietly. I slid the phone into my pocket. I'm not refusing it tonight just to feel clean. And I'm not accepting it tonight just because it helps. Sophie deserves more thought than my anger. Eleanor nodded. I can have it moved out of my father's control completely. Independent trustees. No Norton name attached. I looked at her. She held my gaze. Not as charity. Not as guilt. As part of repair. Repair. I still hated the word a little. But I did not hate it from her. Then we do it carefully, I said. And one day, when she's old enough, I tell her where it came from. All of it. She'll be proud of you. I shook my head. She'll be confused. Then angry. Then maybe proud. Kids deserve the truth, but not all at once. Eleanor looked down, and her face softened in a way I had only seen once before, in my kitchen, when Sophie told her she was pretty. I don't know how to live outside what he made, she said. I stepped closer, stopping just short of touching her. You start by not lying. That sounds lonely. It is at first. She looked up at me. And after? I thought about the night Walter arranged. The bed. The fear. The fact that whatever had started there had been pushed by the worst person possible. Then I thought about the diner. The hospital. This boardroom. Her standing in front of people who could take everything from her and choosing truth anyway. After, I said, you find out who stays when the lie is gone. Her eyes shined, but she did not look away. Outside, someone called her name through the glass. Eleanor reached for the door, then stopped. Her hand found mine. Not hidden. Not rushed. Just there. For the first time since I had met her, no one had arranged the moment for us. No driver delay. No fake crisis. No father moving pieces behind a curtain. Just her